What's that mean? Well, what it means is that one of the big problems, and the initial problem, the first problem that led to all the demonstrations in Hong Kong was the bill that the chief executive, Carrie Lam, introduced regarding extradition to China. And whoa, no. That was the first reason for all the demonstrations. And she, at the beginning, refused to withdraw the bill. She suspended it, which it means it's just hanging there in a way. Hanging. She didn't withdraw it. So the demonstration, airport, trains, MTR, everything, big problems, fighting, tear gas, all this stuff in the streets. So it just continued. And then today, finally, she announced withdrawing the extradition bill. What is extradition? Extradition is basically, in the simplest way, taking one thing and putting it someplace else. Extraditing. Extraditing in this situation means that there is an agreement between two countries, let's say, and they agree that if there are suspects of crimes in your country that have committed crimes in my country, I can request that you arrest that person and send him back to my country for trial. Well, that created a big problem in Hong Kong because they didn't want to have to be told by China that, oh, that's the guy we want. And, for whatever political reason or whatever it happened to be. So there was a big protest about it. But the extradition is removing a suspect who is in one country back to the second country for trial for whatever the crime may be. He has been extradited back. So that was the big cause of the demonstrations in Hong Kong. Now it's been removed. And so what happens, of course, the heads or the people that are leading the demonstrations come on and say, oh, well, too little, too late. Too little, too late. And what that means is, yes, you did something, but it's only a little bit of what we want. And in fact, it's really too late. There are many other things going on. Remember, extradition was problem number one, but there were 5 issues that the demonstrators wanted resolved. This is one of them. There are 4 more. Voting rights, an investigation of the police department for extra brutality or whatever, and a couple other reasons. So whether or not the demonstrations will stop is questionable. It is likely that they will continue. So we'll see. Maybe what's today? For a Thursday? Usually the demonstrations are on Saturday and Sunday. So we'll see. But that's a start. But whether or not it'll be the answer is questionable. Do you have any questions about this? Formally withdrawn. There's an interesting thing in the smaller print. It says, Lamb's last pitch bid to ease unrest. And I looked at that, so last pitch bid. Last pitch bid. P-I-T-C-H. The way I have always heard it in America, in English, is she says last pitch. But I've always heard it as last ditch. Last ditch bid. I was just surprised when I saw pitch because it didn't ring right. A last ditch bid it's kind of a military type idea, where if you're fighting for something in the trenches, in the boom, boom, in the trench, fighting, and you decide that, ooh, it's getting too bad, I better back up, you move back to a second trench with a whole new idea. And if that gets too bad, you go back to what may be the last ditch. You have no other place to go, so you give up or something like that. So last ditch, she's fighting in the last position she has, so she gives up. Okay, you got it, we give up. But I never heard last pitch. That's funny. Oh, hi. Welcome back. But I never heard of last pitch, but last ditch is the final effort to do something. The final last thing you can do. Your last ditch bid. Oh, okay, you win. You got it. No extradition. That's it. I give up. Okay. Last ditch. To try to stop the demonstrations. She wouldn't give up, she wouldn't give up, and then finally, okay, I give up. No extradition. Extradition bill formally withdrawn. So that's it, it's a dead issue now. Any questions about that?
No.
No? Well, we'll see what happens. Oh, yes.
Yeah. If you were having this problem, what do you think after this?
What do you do after this? Well, it remains now, it's in the hands of the demonstrators. Because she says, okay, you win. So now it goes over, what will the protesters do? Say, oh, okay, that's it. Now, it's very unlikely, in my view at least, and I think others, that the demonstrations will stop. So yes, she gave in and said, okay, no extradition. Now it goes over, is that enough? Will that satisfy the hundreds of thousands of protesters? Or will they continue to demand part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5 of the things that we want? Or will they say, oh, okay, extradition going? Okay, that's it, back to work. It all depends. And it will, I'm pretty sure this weekend, the answer to your question will be out there.
This weekend.
There'll either be no demonstrations, everybody just sitting around reading a book, or but it was her last ditch bid. Oh, this is all I can do. Okay, you got it. Because for 3 months, no. And then all of a sudden, yes. We'll see. So it's really why she made the last bid and gave in. It's now up to the protesters to decide, is that enough or do we want more? And if they want more, they'll be back in the streets on Saturday and Sunday. So we'll see. But everybody's saying, well, why didn't she do this 3 months ago? then there would have been no demonstrations. But things tend to snowball. Snowball? Things tend to snowball. Things tend to snowball. Do you know what that means?
No.
Okay. Snow, right? Snow. Make a snowball. And what happens is, if you take the snowball, say it's about this big, and roll it along the snow, all of a sudden, bigger. So something that's very small in the beginning, depending on what it is, can snowball. Start out small. Just like these demonstrations. They started in the beginning, a few people, couple hundred people maybe. All of a sudden, next week, a couple thousand people, boom, boom, boom. Next week, maybe 10, 20,000 people. And the next week, 50,000, 100,000, boom, up to 1 million. So things snowball. The little thing, boom, boom, boom. Bigger and bigger and bigger. You'll hear that quite often. Gee, what happened? Well, things started to snowball. We thought it was going to be a little bit of a problem, and all of a sudden, hear that quite often. Any other questions about that? Okay. What?
Just kidding.
Just kidding, what?
I hope my business.
No questions? Any questions? No?
I talk about news from Hong Kong. It's none of my business.
It's none of your business. Well, it's none of anybody. Unless you're in Hong Kong, it's probably none of your business. But things have changed, and a lot of it's changed a lot of things. For example, in Singapore, all the tourists that were flying to Hong Kong, tourists, plane, Singapore.
Oh, yeah.
Businesses that were going to move to Hong Kong, Singapore. Because of the problem, the tourist situation, boom. They showed pictures, when I was there last week, they showed pictures in the paper of the restaurants in central Hong Kong, empty. The waiter standing there, tables empty. When normally it would be full full up. But everything, things are fading away from Hong Kong at the moment. Until they resolve this issue, whether this will be enough, this weekend I think will tell the tale. Any other questions? Okay, all right. So we'll wrap up. I have one more sentence which we'll go over from yesterday's class, and then we'll begin a whole new session. Okay. Oh, let me erase this. Yikes. A last ditch effort. Final attempt.
จะรู้จะเข้าใจเพราะว่าสองสายก่อน
ใช่
แต่อันนี้มันไม่
มันเดิน
สาม
กลับมาจากเมื่อวานแล้ว Yes, summer.
ไม่ต้องเห็นนะไม่จะซื้อน้ำพริกมาไม่ทัน
Okay, we were talking about the hand yesterday and different parts of the fingers and what have you. So this will be the final sentence on that subject today. While playing a game of baseball last summer, I fell down and injured my hand. I went to see a doctor who told me my index finger was broken and my wrist was sprained. I would have to stay away from sports until the swelling went down and my finger healed. While playing a game of baseball last summer, I fell down and injured my hand. I went to see a doctor who told me my index finger was broken and my wrist was sprained. I would have to stay away from sports until the swelling went down and my finger healed. Okay, go ahead.
While playing a game of baseball last summer, I fell down and injured my hand. I went to see a doctor who told me my index finger was broken and my wrist was sprained. I would have to stay away from sports until the swelling went down and my finger healed.
You're very good. My finger healed. Index finger and wrist. Sprained my wrist. Okay, go ahead. Kurt.
While playing a game of baseball last summer, I fell down and injured my hand. I went to see a doctor who told me my index finger was broken and my wrist was sprained. I would have to stay away from sport until the swelling went down and my finger healed.
Healed. Very good. Stay away from sports until the swelling went down and my finger healed. Okay, sir. Go ahead.
While playing a game of baseball last summer, I fell down and injured my hand. I went to see a doctor who told me my index finger was broken and my wrist was sprained. I would have to stay away from sport until the swelling went down and my finger healed.
Right, very good. Good job. While playing a game of baseball last summer, I fell down and injured my hand.
Injured my hand.
I went to see a doctor who told me my index finger was broken. Oh, and my wrist was sprained. I would have to stay away from sports until the swelling went down and my finger healed. Okay.
While playing a game of baseball last summer, I fell down and injured my hand. I went to see a doctor who told me my index finger was broken and my wrist was sprained. I would have to stay away from sport until the swelling went down and my finger healed.
Right, very good. Good job. All right, sorry. Skip that. Sorry.
Confused.
Yikes.
While playing a game of baseball last summer, I fell down and injured my hand. I went to see a doctor who told me my index finger was broken and my wrist was sprained. I would have to stay away from sports until the swelling went down and my finger healed.
Right, very good. Good job. Playing a game of baseball. Very good. Okay.
While playing a game of baseball last summer, I fell down and injured my hand. I went to see a doctor who told me my index finger was broken and my wrist was sprained. I would have to stay away from sport until the swelling went down and my finger healed.
Right, my finger healed. Healed. My finger healed. And finger was broken and my wrist was sprained. Very good. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
While playing a game of baseball last summer, I fell down and injured my hand. I went to see a doctor who told me my index finger was broken and my wrist was sprained. I would have to stay away from sports until the swelling went down and my finger healed.
Yeah, my finger healed. My wrist was sprained. 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 I would have to stay away from sports until the swelling went down and my finger healed. Yeah, very good. Okay.
While playing the game of baseball last summer, I fell down and injured my hand. I went to see a doctor who told me the finger was broken and my wrist was sprained. I would have to stay away from sport until the swelling went down and my finger healed.
Right, very good. Very good. My index finger, the index finger. Index finger, little finger, ring finger,
The finger.
thumb, palm, wrist, wrist. To sprain the wrist or to sprain your ankle is to twist it in such a way that it begins to swell up, that you've injured your hand. It'd be like falling down and hitting your wrist and oh my gosh, and maybe you would break your finger, as this case, and then the wrist would be twisted so much that it would swell up. You can also sprain your ankle by maybe running or tripping or falling and twisting your ankle so much that it swells up. You've sprained your ankle. you've sprained your wrist. Index finger, palm, the palm of my hand. Any questions about the words?
I feel down like feeling blue, feel sad.
Feeling bruised?
Yeah, feeling blue.
You can bruise your hand, you can bruise your arm by falling down, let's say, and hitting it such that it suddenly turns black and blue. Black and blue, the coloring. Oh, what happened? I fell down and bruised my wrist. B-R-U-I-S-E. I bruised my hand. A bruise is not a break. A break, you may have to wear a cast. When I was playing ball some years ago, I did actually break my little finger when I tried to make a catch on a ball and hit the ground. I did break my finger. I had to wear a cast. A white hard covering, a cast, where you know, you'll see people that break their arm, they're walking around with some, you know. But what happened? Oh, I fell down and broke my arm. And I'm wearing a cast, a hard covering, so that you can't move it until it heals. Wearing a cast. I had to wear a cast on my finger. And every time I walked into FBI headquarters, everybody said, "Oh, what happened to you? What happened?" What happened? I fell down playing softball. Oh, okay. Index finger, wrist, sprained, aimed, sprained, swelling, swell. Get bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, any questions?
Clear.
No questions? Okay.
Clear.
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 Are you sure?
Clear. Clear.
They always say it's clear, and it's not clear. Okay. A bruise is not a break. You can bruise your wrist, you can break your wrist, or you can sprain your wrist. A bruise, a break, and a sprain are all little different things. Okay. Okay, we'll try a new set of words here, see how it goes. What's that?
Oh, I'm reading. I'm reading.
Oh, reading.
Sorry, excuse me.
Okay.
Sympathy.
Sympathy. Sympathy. Apology. Great. Yes.
Okay, here's some new words you may not have seen for a while.